did. And so we all got together and said, we want to form another government where we have 500, 600, 700, 800 people running America and running it amok and telling us what to do and controlling every facet of our lives, just like King George III was, but we just don't want a king. We just want a bunch of them doing it. No, that's not what the Founding Fathers had in mind. We want a federal government to tell us how to run our education, how to run our land, and take it away from us anytime they want, and to run our rivers and our waters and our air and our education and our health care and everything else that we do. It should all be mandated and controlled from Washington, D.C. How are we going to stop all that? Through what I'm going to show you right now. And this is part of it. Although the states surrendered, what does the 10th Amendment say the states actually did? What was the proper word? In the 10th Amendment said the states delegated. The word is delegated. We didn't surrender any of our powers. We delegated some of them to the new federal government. And we're going to see what Scalia does. He takes us through a very solid history lesson. He even quotes some of the Founding Fathers. Can you imagine a Supreme Court decision quoting the Founding Fathers? I think that's what we all should be doing. But read the last line. I'm sorry, I didn't get there yet. They, the states, retain a residuary and inviolable sovereignty. Do we know what sovereignty means? It means there is no authority above you. If you're sovereign, you don't answer to anybody but God. You men, maybe your wives too, a little bit. Okay? But if you're sovereign, if you retain an inviolable sovereignty, would you be allowing the federal government to tell you everything about health care and education and all this other? You know, we might be a bunch of rednecks in Arizona and we don't know too much, but I guarantee you that we can run our own education in the Grand Canyon without the federal government. Okay, so Scalia goes on here. This is, again, the U.S. Supreme Court. Don't we all believe in following what they say? What if they're absolutely wrong? Have they ever been wrong? I would guess, Father, that they were maybe wrong on the abortion issue. I'm just going to guess that. Okay? Now look at it. Residual state sovereignty. Now, Scalia gets into some heavy issues here about state sovereignty. Was also implicit, of course, in the Constitution's conferral upon Congress of not all governmental powers. They don't have it. What kind of powers do they have? Read the next line. But only discrete, enumerated ones. Which implication was rendered express. That's impossible. They couldn't have rendered the Constitution express because our politicians today and even the media, Time magazine even said this, that the Constitution is breathable and livable and flexible, and you know, you can change it like a rubber band, you know, even break the rubber band and just move it to whatever you need it to do. And now he's saying that the Constitution was rendered express, rendered absolute. That's what that means, folks. Rendered express. By what? Rendered express by the 10th Amendment. And what is the 10th Amendment? State sovereignty. Shall we go over the 10th Amendment real quickly? It says, he's got it quoted. He's quoting the Constitution. He's quoting the Untouchables. He quotes number 10 of the Untouchables here when he says the powers not delegated, that we delegated to the federal government, to the United States, the powers we delegated to them by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. Shows you the power of the people, doesn't it? We, the sovereigns, that we don't need all this mandates and governmental interference and a president trying to run every facet of our lives and homes out here. And Jefferson said that was never the intent of the Founding Fathers. What was the intent of the Founding Fathers? To devise a Constitution that would bind them down with the chains. These are the chains. We're talking about these chains now. And so, oh man. The great innovation, Scalia goes on to say, is that our citizens would have two political capacities. We get that, don't we? One federal, one state, we understand that. It's just that the federal government had very little power. What kind of power did Scalia say the federal government had? Let's go back. Fourth line from the top. But only discrete enumerated ones. They only have discrete enumerated powers if we use state sovereignty to make sure they keep it that way. If we don't exercise our powers within the states and counties, the feds are going to go crazy. And that's what we have today. Are you seeing and feeling a solution yet? I'm feeling a solution coming on here. It's called the exercise of state sovereignty. Again, peaceful process. Again, putting them on notice, just like we have hundreds of sheriffs throughout the country doing right now. Put the federal government on notice. Don't think you're going to come in here and confiscate guns or make laws that are going to make criminals out of law-abiding citizens of this county. Because we're not going to stand for it. Remember, go to cspoa.org, check that list out. You're going to be amazed by it. It's already happening. The solution is already happening. But to really make the solution happen, we've got to cut the financial strings and apron strings to mama federal government. And man, do we have to do that. Because they'll come into our counties that they've made so poor because they take all our land and, you know, make sure everybody's working to pay all these taxes and to pay for all their corruption because they can't find ways to cut. They can't find ways to cut. Huh. Tell them to ask us. I bet we could come up with 189, couldn't we? And then all of this, put this together with discrete enumerated powers. Where do we see those discrete enumerated powers? Article 1, Section 8 of your little pocket Constitution. I like the one with George Washington on the front. That's one of my favorite. John Birch Society also has a very good one that fits in the pocket of your law enforcement uniform. That's why I like that. It's shorter and smaller. All right. They only have discrete enumerated powers. We see that in Article 1, Section 8. And he makes it even stronger that our citizens would have two political capacities, one state, one federal. Read the next line. Each protected from incursion by the other. If we believe in the Constitution, if we believe in what we have to follow as local officials, we have to follow the U.S. Supreme Court, then let's get to following it. It says that we have the authority and the responsibility to protect our citizens from the incursions of the federal government. If they see us committing an incursion, then they can step in also. But only as it applies to the individual liberty of each citizen. And they did this during the death of segregation. The federal government moved in. I'm going to say that was okay. It was protecting God-given liberty and liberties guaranteed in the Bill of Rights. It was protecting the untouchables. I'll gladly have the federal government do that. How many times in history have they done it? Maybe that once. That's it. The rest of it's our duty to protect the untouchables. We have the duty here. We have the responsibility. It's our citizens here. We don't allow hit-and-run enforcement like Waco and Ruby Ridge and others that the federal government comes in and says, oh, okay, we'll just run things like kill everybody and leave. Amen. And then not answer for it. Amen. Just like Fast and Furious. How did we end Fast and Furious? Because the president declared executive privilege and got away with murder. Yeah. Now Scalia says, he quotes Madison again. As Madison expressed it, the local or municipal, who are they? Counties or cities. Local or municipal authorities form what? Distinct and independent portions of the supremacy. Oh, we thought the Supremacy Clause gave all that to the federal government. No. We share it. And we have more of it than they do. And if we continue to give it away because they offer us a pot of porridge known as federal grants. Are federal grants legal and constitutional and moral? No, they are not. For the federal government to come in and steal money, tax you, and take your money, and then offer it as free subsidies to law enforcement agencies or other police departments throughout the country, that's wrong. They don't have the authority to do that. And why would they do that? Just leave the money here and we'll handle our own deal. Okay?
They took 50% of it while they were doing it.
Oh, well, yeah, they got to pay for all that corruption. Corruption isn't free. Now we get to the solution. Look what Scalia does here. He compares state sovereignty to one of the three branches of government, to the separation of powers. State sovereignty is the fourth. And he basically says so. Look, I don't make any of this stuff up. This separation of the two spheres. What two spheres are we talking about? The federal sphere and the state sphere. Except the state sphere is a lot bigger. Okay? The separation of the two spheres is one of the Constitution's structural protections of liberty. What? A structural protection of liberty is state sovereignty? Only if we use it. Now get this. Just as the separation and independence of the coordinate branches of the federal government serve to prevent the accumulation of excessive power in any one branch, here's the solution, folks. Scalia gives it to us in black and white, or gold and white. A healthy balance of power between the states and the federal government will reduce the risk of tyranny and abuse from either front. End quote. It's right there. You see the evidence for yourself. What did Scalia say is the solution? Quote, a healthy balance of power between the states and federal government. Do we have that healthy balance of power today? That's a joke. So we, the counties, cities, and states, and even school boards, must take that power back. A school board is a political subdivision of the state, and they are not subject to federal direction. They, as Scalia, you'll see in the little booklet, Scalia talks about that we acquiesce and we do all these things to get federal grants and federal funding. No. And that's in when we start compromising. We compromise the liberty of the people that really vote us into office so we can get money from the federal government that comes from us in the first place. I don't know. Is that the most crazy system you've ever heard of? But they have to take 60, 70, 80% to pay for all the bureaucracies and the employees and the buildings and all the other crap, right? So, what is the solution? The states and the counties and the cities must take this back. We must take back our land. We must take back control over local issues. And that can be a peaceful process. And it can be a fast one. We don't have to wait. When you donate to CSP Away, you're donating to yourselves. You're donating to America. You're not donating to a political campaign. You don't have to wait for the next Republican or Democrat to do something that they're supposed to, that they promised to do and never do. We are already doing this. You can see the evidence. We're already doing it. We're boots on the ground defending the Second Amendment right now. We're boots on the ground defending the office of sheriff. We're boots on the ground helping Sheriff Joe Arpaio in Phoenix because now there's a group trying to recall him. We're boots on the ground defending the Constitution and the untouchables as intended by the Founding Fathers. We don't have to wait for next election. We're not going to wait till next November. We're not going to wait till next May. We're doing it now. And that's how we take back America. We do it now. We work. We have to do more. It's about doing and changing and standing and working with local officials and supporting our sheriff and our chiefs and our police in what they're doing and trying to keep their oath of office and help working with us. We volunteer to be on the posse. And we make that as whatever the sheriff wants it to be. Because we should have those standing. When the economy collapses, you're going to want that posse very organized. Okay? And it's not if, it's when. A healthy balance of power between the states and the federal government. There's the solution. Why? Scalia quotes Madison again. Because hence, a double security arises to the rights of the people. The different governments will control each other. at the same time that each will be controlled by itself. Any question as to whether or not the federal government will control itself? Anybody got that question? Please raise your hand. No, I always get a good laugh on that one. They're not going to. And state sovereignty is the solution to that. We are the ultimate check and balance. The 10th Amendment was a balance of power. It was a check and balance. If we don't exercise it, what do we lose? Liberty. Personal and state sovereignty. The only purpose of state sovereignty is to protect the sovereignty of the individual. It doesn't protect the geography of the state. Who cares? It's the sovereignty of the individual that we're talking about today. Now look at this. The power, this is a quote. It's in the booklet. You can take it home with you. You should be getting a bunch of those and sharing it with your family and friends, especially with your local legislators. That the power of the federal government would be augmented immeasurably if it were able to impress into its service and at no cost to itself the police officers of the 50 states. That's what they were trying to do. They were commandeering sheriffs for federal bidding. Ms. Scalia says they can't do it. They don't have the authority to do that. So what did they do? Instead of commanding necessarily, they offer money for you to go along with it in the form of federal grants. What a system we have, isn't it? This is my favorite quote from the entire decision. This is in there. You're not going to believe this. You're going to have to maybe look this up yourself. Because you don't believe me, and you probably shouldn't, because I still don't believe it myself, but a Supreme Court decision actually said that the Constitution protects us from our own best intentions. Can you believe that? This is a Supreme Court decision. Not only can it not tell the police what to do and commandeer us for federal bidding, the Constitution, protects us from our own best intentions. It divides power among sovereigns, all of you, among sovereigns, and among branches of government, precisely so that we may resist the temptation to concentrate power in one location as an expedient solution to the crisis of the day. End quote. The crisis of the day? Where have we heard that before? It's the mantra of the Obama administration. Never let a good crisis go to waste, even if you have to create one.
That's right.
Which they did. With Obamacare, you don't think they created a crisis? Oh, people are dying in the streets. Yeah. And so, besides, we're just too stupid to take care of our own doctor bills and go to the doctor on our own. We need these smart people in Washington to do all this for us. That should scare you to death. Never ask government to take care of you, because they will. Now this is the order of the court. Starting in gold. The federal government may neither issue directives requiring the states to address particular problems, nor command the state's officers or those of their political subdivisions to administer or enforce a federal regulatory program. It matters not whether policy making is involved, and no case-by-case weighing of the burdens or benefits is necessary. Such commands are fundamentally incompatible with our constitutional system of dual sovereignty. So was the order of the U.S. Supreme Court, June 27, 1997. This has not changed, it has not been altered, it has not been ruled against. Justice Roberts violated this ruling when he ruled in favor of Obama on Obamacare. He violated this ruling. He still said the states could opt out. Where do you think Obamacare is going to be enforced? It's going to be right here in your county. It's definitely going to be here in your state. And we better start opting out. That's why they've hired 16,000 more IRS agents. It's up to the ruthless guys to enforce Obamacare. They're going to shove this down our throats whether we like it or not. I, for one, will never use or take or borrow or do anything with implementing personally Obamacare. I will never take it. I will never pay any fine because of it, because I'm a free man and a free American, and I'll handle my personal health care how I choose, not how Obama chooses, or some other idiot like Nancy Pelosi telling me how I have to do federal health care. It's none of their business. It never was. If they want to donate their own personal money to help the poor have health care, that would be fine and that would be legal. To force me to give my money for others to have health care is immoral, unconstitutional, and flat out wrong. And now we live in a complete welfare state that the Founding Fathers warned us against, and they wonder why we're in problem. The Founding Fathers warned us against a welfare state. They warned us against gun control. They warned us about intermingling and entertaining alliances with foreign countries. They warned us against debt. And you wonder why now our country's in trouble? That's why I said, let's try using the Constitution for 1 year. Now, I've got to switch off to something. We're almost done here. Let's see here. Okay. Okay, here it is. Abraham Lincoln. Now, I know there's a lot of people that disagreed with a lot of things he did, and I'm one of them. But I like this warning to each of us. America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. We're witnessing this. We are the generation, my friends, who will decide if we're going to continue as a constitutional republic or we're going to succumb to the politically correct pressures to be just another socialistic state. We're already implementing the 10 planks of the Communist Manifesto in our country today. They're already there. Look them up for yourself. I don't want you to believe me. Go look for yourselves. And one of the first things they did to implement that was to remove God from all our public institutions. That's part of that process. If we lose America, it's because we destroyed ourselves. And right now, another point that I would make from this is the most critical time in American history since the Civil War. I promise each of you that I'm going to do more. And I'm asking you to do the same. What did the Founding Fathers pledge to each other? Their lives, their fortunes, and sacred honor. We must do likewise. Our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Nobody here, not even Tom, is going to ask you for your fortune. Sometimes he acts like he is, but it's not. We want you to do this, what you can. Can we double what we've done today? We've already done 10 grand, haven't we? Can we double that today? I'd love to send 10 or 15 grand to Sheriff Christopher in Delaware for his noble and courageous fight. He's a small town sheriff. He's asked for help from all over. And he got some attorneys to give him a break, but they can't. They got to eat too, and this is a full-time job. It's a full-time case. And so far, they've been hanging in there pretty well without money. And so, again, we really need your help there. There are more instances of the abridgment of the freedom of the people by gradual and silent encroachments from those in power. He's basically saying what Lincoln was saying, but a different way. Then by any violent or sudden usurpation or attack from the foreign. It's not going to be foreigners that are destroying our Constitution, is it? It's going to be right here. It's going to be us. It's going to be us sitting on our butts instead of getting busy and getting active. And keeping these politicians, what is the price of freedom? Eternal vigilance, the Founding Fathers said. The price of freedom, eternal vigilance. We have gone to sleep far too long. We've got to do more. We've got to get more involved. And we've got to work with our sheriffs and local officials to make this happen. Jefferson said, my reading of history convinces me that most bad government results from too much government. That should scare you to death. Is there anybody in history that has had too much government as much as we have today? Maybe Rome. And what happened to Rome? After 200 years, their democracy failed. Their republic failed. And it imploded. And we're doing the same today, in our own arrogance and our own complacency are destroying the greatest country in world history. We've got to get back the answers behind us in our own Constitution. Jefferson, when all government should be drawn, we started this at the beginning. We don't need to go over this one again. But remember, if all of it's in Washington, it's just as bad as King George III government. So, let's review this then. What is the real threat to America? Go. We destroy ourselves, as Lincoln warned. Second, gradual and silent encroachments from those in power. But you know what? They're not gradual anymore, nor are they silent. They're bold in our face, and we see them every day. And we've got to build the barriers here. Madison said we can safely rely on local jurisdictions to erect barriers against the encroachments of the national authority. Our job is to build the barriers, interpose on behalf of the people in our jurisdictions. We interpose, we build barriers, we stand for freedom, we keep our oath, we put freedom first. The untouchables are untouchable. And then finally, what is the other big threat? What is the other destruction? Too much government. What did Jefferson say it was? That all bad government simply came from too much government. And they have us paying for it all. Do you know that the federal budget has gone up about 600% since Reagan left? 600%. And they can't cut anything? Just go back to last year's budget, and they wouldn't need to be talking about this sequester thing. Oh, we couldn't cut salaries. From you guys? Are you kidding? They haven't even provided a budget. They can't even balance their own budget, and we're going to trust them with our guns? Come on. No. The Constitution is still the solution. It's the supreme law of the land. If we enforce the Constitution, we're going to win this. Individual liberty, local officials, and state sovereignty. You put that together, we've got the solution. Now, I don't remember if I closed 2 years ago when I was here. If I closed the way I do now, I think I did. But a lot of you weren't there. And I close every one of my presentations the same way. Now, I've got to get to another presentation about an hour away, but I'm going to be here book signing out there, and I want all of you to get the tools there that you can. And we've got helpers, and we'll make that really fast. Don't leave without getting these tools, especially this little thing here. You want to make sure you have that. The next important one I would say is the county sheriff, America's last hope. It's only $8. But make sure that you do more before you leave here today and after you leave here today. Do more than you have been up till now. As much as Tom's been doing, I'll still say that to him. You've got to do more. All of us. I make the same pledge to you that I will. I will do more. And now to close all this, I'm going to wrap this up. And when I told you that I was studying, and I ran in, and I was trying to find the answers to why we have government, and I ran smack in the face of the Constitution, and part of my repentance was to read and study the Constitution. I started completely over, philosophically. Where do you begin? And I discovered the oath, I discovered the Constitution, I discovered the Founding Fathers, I discovered America, and I loved it. And while I was doing this, a notification came from the state of Utah. And that's where I started my career. I was sheriff in Arizona. I started my law enforcement career in Utah. And the title of this class, this seminar, was Constitutional Studies for Law Enforcement Officers. And the instructor's name was Dr. W. Cleon Skousen. Hope some of you have read his book called The 5,000-Year Lead, or my favorite book of his, The Making of America. And I went to this 2-day seminar. There was 240 cops there at the University of Utah in Salt Lake City. And in 16 hours, 2 days of police training, we didn't study once about high-speed pursuits, or the Carroll Doctrine, or Terry versus Ohio, or the Miranda decision, or how to drive a car faster, blah, blah, blah. We studied the making of America and the miracle that America was in the first place. Even more miraculous than winning the Revolutionary War was the development and implementation of our new Constitution and the Bill of Rights, the untouchables. And as I fell in love with all this, I made another commitment. I took another oath while I was at that training. And I said, I will never be on the wrong side again. And I kept that promise, and I've done everything in my power to keep my oath. And that's why I decided to run for sheriff, because I wanted to run my own department in a constitutional manner. And I loved the 8 years that I was sheriff. And we went on from there, and we do this. But at the end of the seminar, Dr. Skousen and I had become very good friends during breaks. We talked a lot, became very good friends, because he used to work in the FBI with my father. And we talked a lot about that. And at this point, he hands me his book, The Making of America, a big 700-page hardback copy of his book. And he looked me in the eye and he said, promise me that you'll teach these things to your children. I kept that promise. And now I teach them all across America. And I started teaching them to my grandchildren. I have 9 grandchildren, one on the way next month. And my first grandchild was born almost, about 6.5 years ago. You see, she was born on the 4th of July. Now tell me there's not a God in heaven. My first granddaughter, my first grandchild, born on the 4th of July. And her name is Liberty. And my precious little Liberty. And you can see a picture of my website at sheriffmack.com, where I'm doing what I'm going to do now with you, where I'm doing that in her kindergarten class at school. And you can see that at sheriffmack.com too. But remember, go to cspoa.org and be a part of what we're doing. You can become a member there. You can be a member of the CSPOA posse. And those are funds that we desperately need. Desperately, desperately need. And so little Libby and I do this together now. And I wish she was here doing it with me now. I really miss her. But what I share with you now is my closing. That Dr. Skousen taught all of us, big tough cops, this little kindergarten exercise. And I've nicknamed it America's Political Prayer. It's probably not a prayer at all, but maybe again it's the last one we have left. And I want you to remember while I share this with you, that I learned this at police training. And it goes like this. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. And that's the eagle. Long may she be free. Thank you. Did I say Christophus? Oh, no, sorry, Christopher. Christopher, thank you very much. Jeff, Sheriff Christopher, or Sheriff Jeff Christopher, just Chris, Christopher. Okay? Sheriff Jeff Christopher, you can Google him and you can see a lot of what he's been up to. Again, they lowered his salary to $20,000 to get rid of it. He's an amazing man. Sheriff Jeff Christopher, Sussex County, Delaware. Okay? Thank you for that question.
I need to thank everybody for coming here today. I know the sheriff's going a little long. We've got to be in Roseau at 3 o'clock, and it's a little more than an hour to get there, so I don't want to push everybody. I do want to mention one thing. Bill will be in Bemidji next weekend. Anybody who loves liberty and freedom will want to be in Bemidji at 4:30 next weekend. I think Barb and Kay are around here talking to them about it. You'll want to hear Bill.
Wait, I went a little long.
I don't know if you did so much as we started lately. Or maybe I run it the mouth longer than I was supposed to.
No, I went a little long. I did. I'm sorry.
Okay. So, but I do want to make sure that you see that the donation boxes are here. You know now the urgency and why this is necessary. So if you've got time, if you can, on your way out. I know the sheriff was kind and he said I probably wouldn't shake you down, but I'm willing to hold you by the ankles and shake you upside down if I have to. But fortunately, I'm an old man, I can't do that anymore. As a believer, again, Father was kind enough to open us with prayer, and I'd like to leave us with prayer, because I believe it was the Holy Spirit that led me down the path that brought us all in this room today. So I'll close with something I did not write. I heard it, and I just kind of felt like it was a prayer appropriate to what we're trying to do. It's something that was written, and I heard by Patrick McGeary. It's called the Fellowship of the Unashamed. I am part of the Fellowship of the Unashamed. The die has been cast, the decision is made. I've stepped over the line. I won't look back, let up, slow down, back away, or be still. My past is redeemed, my present makes sense. My future is in God's hands. I'm finished and done with low living, small planning, bare minimum, smooth knees, mundane talking, frivolous living, selfish giving, and dwarf goals. No longer, I no longer need preeminence, prosperity, position, promotions, applause, or popularity. I don't have to be right, first, the best, recognized, or praised, regarded, or rewarded. I now live by faith. I lean on Christ's presence. I love with patience, live by prayer, and labor with the power of God's grace. My face is set, my gait is fast, my goal is heaven. The road is narrow. My way is rough, my companions are few, my guide is reliable, and my mission is clear. I cannot be bought, compromised, deterred, lured away, turned back, deluded, or delayed. I will not flinch in the face of sacrifice, hesitate in the presence of adversity, negotiate at the table of the enemy, ponder at the pool of popularity, or meander in the maze of mediocrity. I won't give up, shut up, let up, or slow up, until I have stayed up, stored up, prayed up, paid up, spoke up for the cause of Christ. I'm a disciple of Jesus. I am a Christian. I must go until he comes, give until I drop, speak until all I know, and work until he stops me. And when he returns for his own, he will have no difficulty recognizing me. My banner is clear. I am part of the Fellowship of the Unashamed. I wish you'd all go out and buy some books. Amen. Have a great day. We're ready to run.
I don't know.
Thanks for all your work. Appreciate it. I did get excited when you beat me up. Yeah, that's all right. No.
Space, huh?
Yes, I moved it over a little bit, so I got it. He's still recording. I don't know how to shut it off. Oh,